Welcome for starters to the LFM website. Figured I'd give you a quick view on what it looks like. So we just came from the homepage. You select the game you want to race in. In my case, that would usually be Assetto Corsa Competizione, and then you see all the series that you have that exists. But a bunch of them are grayed out, as you can see, because I'm either not meeting the ELO requirement, or I think for every case actually that's shown, I don't meet the safety rating requirement. So at the top right, you can see I'm E1 with a 3.11 safety rating. I'm also Bronze Plus. So Bronze Plus is enough to qualify for all of these. For example, Iron and Bronze Plus are grayed out, but then you can see minimum D2, minimum B3. So I don't quite meet those requirements for safety. If you look at the history of my ELO rating, it's been pretty middling around the 1500 mark, where you start when you first create an account. But then safety rating has seen a lot more ups and downs. So I'm trying to get that up so I can do different series and more interesting ones. But yeah, it's not very easy. The reason I'm showing this now is because this video will demonstrate that it is not very easy to get that up. Or maybe I'm just not, it's a skill issue, presumably a bit of both. Anyway, this week, the series that I do have available for me, the main one is a GT3 series that has a race every 45 minutes. I signed up for one against my better instincts, I think. There's also a weekly series that races on Monza, and I tried it twice, and it was horrible. People just crashed into me all the time. It was crazy. So I stayed away from that one, and I feel like it's likely going to be the same for this race that I signed up for, because if you look at the entry list, it was a lot of F-rated drivers with their safety rating completely at the bottom. I think 1.0 is just the lowest you can go, so the 0 is actually 1.0 then. But anyway, I figured with the regular series being Monza, I should try the other one that's open to me. The thing is that it's a Porsche Cup series, or a Cup car series, really. So these are different from GT3s, drive very differently, and I haven't really touched them because I didn't want to invest yet the time into learning to drive them. But anyway, with Monza being the regular series, I figured I'd give it a go. Signed up for one, joined it, and to my horror, on joining, I saw that it was a wet qualifying at least, and possibly race. And yeah, we can see the results on screen. Qualifying not going that well. Part again, skill issue, but also I don't have setups for this, and I don't really know how to set up these cars. So since I couldn't sign out anymore, I figured might as well try. But the results were terrible. So I went out, tried to qualify, tried to fix the setup, had to change the tire pressures notably. They were way off, so I tried to fix it, went out, saw an improvement, but not quite there, so did the same again. In the end, I think I got them mostly there, so I set out to qualifying and thought, okay, let's take it very easy, brake well in time, let's not mess this up. And then on turn 1, I just went straight off. Qualifying time was now over. I didn't have a lap set, but I figured, you know what, I mostly got the tire pressures now, so I can just try and stick it out. I was gonna be at the back of the grid anyway, so not having a qualifying time doesn't really change all that much. Especially if you look, it ended up being that I started in P9 out of 12, so I guess more people than just me didn't manage to set a time. So off we went on a full formation lap, and then the race was underway, and it started out quite alright. So as said, I dropped back all the way to the back. Not that was a big drop, and then there was this Monferrato in a Porsche to my right. Started out very, very slow and very tentatively, and I immediately went for an overtake. But it looked a bit like toddlers racing there, because we were just kind of just traipsing around and going very, very slow, already losing a bit of touch with the back of the actual pack. So it wasn't shaping up to be a great one. Also, going into this, I was wondering if people would be in this Porsche Cup series. I figured maybe more people are joining now, since the main one is Monza, and I thought it wouldn't be all that popular. but I would find out later that that was actually not the case, and it's super popular. Way more people were joining them than usual. But yeah, after doing my overtake, the rest of my race looked basically like this. Just constant sliding. The car was a mega handful. And yeah, just slide. So really not getting anywhere. I figure my setup is probably still very bad in other areas, but also my tire pressures, even though they were closer, they was at this point too high, so not going all that well. Yeah. I also noticed it with my lap times, and I frequently went kind of out of track limits, which on LFM is a bad thing, because if you do it too much, your safety rating goes down. Also, this one here, crash, is -4 points for the safety rating for that race. I'll get back to the point system in a bit. But yeah, then I had a faster car coming up, tried to stay out of the way on the right. I guess they wanted to go for an overtake on the right, and they were pretty impatient, so they bumped into me. That's -4 safety rating point, or yeah, -4 safety rating points for the race, which then gets translated into a gain or loss for the actual safety rating, which again I'll come back to later. Anyway, took some damage, went to the pits. Apparently I forgot to change my pit strategy, so now I was on dry tires, which was terrible. Couldn't keep it on the track at all, spun out, ended up pitting again. Oh, one more here. I was steering right, but the car didn't listen, so it was such a disaster class, it was crazy. I couldn't help but just laugh at myself. Meanwhile, P1 was doing 141, so my personal best in the race was a 150, so miles off the pace. Anyway, in the end, I finished the race. I lost safety rating because of the many track limits I hit, but it wasn't all that bad. Could have been worse in the loss in the safety rating. But yeah, so that was the second race of the day. Now we're going into the proper content of the video, and that was the first race I did that day, and that was me trying my hand at Monza in that weekly series. So off I went for qualifying. I haven't raced Monza that much after my hiatus, so even though my personal best is a 149.2, I wasn't really getting close to that. My first attempt was a 151.3, so 2 seconds off, but luckily I at least managed to improve to a 150.2. That was putting me provisionally on P8, which was, I think, the exact seed I had for this this race. But I did get pushed down one place to P9, so yeah, pretty close to where I was seated for the race. So ideally I should be able to more or less hold position and maybe, you know, make 1 or 2 moves up, but also at the most don't lose too many places. Now at the start I was behind this group of cars, a cluster of 5, and I had one to my left, BMW, the black, red and blue. The cluster in front kind of bumped into each other, notably the red and yellow Porsche got spun around, and I had to make my way all the way around on the outside because I had cars on my inside. So I had to go very deep into the gravel trap, which the cars on the left side, they had a much easier time passing the scene of the accident. So I lost a couple of positions because of that, but at least my biggest worry was getting into a heavy crash there, and that didn't occur. So that was, all in all, yeah, pretty good, and I was quite happy with that. So here we can see the cluster, watch the red and yellow Ferrari, small bump from the teal, I think also Ferrari, not sure. Actually no, McLaren maybe. But anyway, a bunch of cars get spun, including the teal one that was the main perpetrator, I think. But yeah, I lost some positions. I guess I went from P8 to P10. The sheet is still updating, but yeah, pretty sure about that. Now in front of me was Marti, who was seeded number 26 in this race, so they're punching way above their weight. And my first idea was that hopefully I can catch up with them. In front we saw Alexander get spun out by Vivas. So that doesn't directly impact me too much, except of course I gained the place. But I think Marti was also a bit holding back on throttle, so immediately I was putting pressure in Lesmos 1, just kind of posturing in their mirrors on the inside. And then coming out of Les Moves 2, I just had a better exit, so pulled alongside. They chose to defend the inside line into Ascari chicane, but when I say defend, actually not really. They just stayed well away from me, leaving quite a lot of space between us, so that put them on a very tight line, and they just backed off even before we fully started braking, I think. So in the replay, we see again that Vivas in a brownish car just bumps Alexander slightly. Seems to hold it for a moment, but then spins out to the other direction. Marti slightly held back, possibly because of it. I'm making myself very large in their mirrors on the inside. Wasn't really gonna go for a dive right there in Les Moes 1, but then, yeah, I'll see it again in this better angle. So just making myself large, and then Les Moes 2, a bit of the same thing, small juke to the inside, but then heading back to the racing line by me. And then I just got the apex on the curb on the inside better than them, and especially on exit I use so much more the space on exit there, so get a better launch into the long straight, and I'm fully alongside before we get to the braking zone, and we see them just pull out and tuck in behind me. And that's the move done. So all in all, pretty simple, and we're on our way to Parabolica across the final straight of the lap. This now puts me behind Vivas, who's about a second in front. I did note that they were seated number 4 in the race, so of course I was gonna do my best to try and keep up with them, or even go for an overtake if possible, but it didn't look all that likely. And behind, I was also looking at the seedings, so Zelonin and Bondiek are behind Marti, and as mentioned, Marti was seated very low in this race, while Zelonin and Bondiek were both rated higher than me, so the expectation was that those two would move through and pass Marti pretty quick, and yeah, it all basically played out according to expectations. So I skipped one lap here, Vivas pulled a bit of a gap towards me, then Marti got dropped by me, but also overtaken and then dropped by Zelonin and Bondiek, so it looks like I will be under pressure from Zelonin from here on out. And yeah, Zelonin was about a second and a half behind when we started the lap. Through the first chicane, I more or less managed to maintain the gap, so that was good. Second chicane, a pretty nice cut on the first curb there for me. Also a second one, I was quite happy with this. We can see I was up on my delta, though my personal best is a 1:51.0, so I would definitely hope I'm up on my delta. Increased a bit more to a half second up, so pretty nice. And with clean air in front of me, nothing hampering me on Les Moes 2 also, so could have used a bit more space on the exit there, but all in all not too bad, so now 4/10 up still on my delta. And through all of that, Zelonin came a little bit closer, but only about 3/10, so not too shabby. Unfortunately, into Ascari chicane, I go a bit too deep in the first part of it, so while I do make it out quite alright on exit and the second part of the chicane, I do quite okay. The damage is already done, so Zelonin has come a lot closer and is now about 0.7 or 0.7 seconds behind. And that's before we come to Parabolica, which has historically been a pretty weak corner for me. So I expect them to come closer through it. Yeah, that plays out as expected as well, so they're now 0.3 seconds or 0.2 even behind, and pulling closer and closer, getting that draft on this long straight. So they pull alongside, I pinch them a bit to the inside, and then right before braking I make a juke or to the left, and that gives me a better braking point. I can brake later, so by the time we get to the actual corner, I just can cover them off on the inside because they are no longer alongside. Again, we'll see better in the replay. So here through Parabolica, they have a bit of a tighter line on entry in the first phase of the corner, so that allows them better throttle towards the exit. Yeah, they're very close behind already before we even get to the start-finish line, so soon they'll be pulling alongside there. Yep. And as I'm pinching them to the inside, what's nice here with that defensive maneuver is that as you get closer to the corner, the track moves a bit to the left again, so I have even more space to juke to the left. And yeah, it just gives me better braking options, so by the time we make the corner, I'm covering off their line and they can't make the move past anymore. and that puts them, with the concertina effect included, just almost 1 second behind as we head to the second chicane. Now in this second chicane I come in a bit too hot, a bit deep on the first corner, and then out of the second corner I'm impatient on throttle, so yeah, go dip my left wheels on the gravel. This puts Zelonin very close behind, and maybe a bit caught off guard by my braking point into Lesmos 1. They bump me. Now fair play, they back off, they don't take the position from that, but I'm still a bit rattled into Lesmos 2. I can catch another slide, but of course this slows me down and Zelonin makes the pass. And worse, Bondiek is also looking to make a move on me as we head on the straight towards Ascari chicane. Now I didn't know this during the race, but Zelonin kind of misjudged that chicane as well, and they cut the corner. I think that put them a lot closer than they would have been. This probably also made it so that led to them bumping into me. Now I catch the slide, they back off a little, so I appreciate the sportsmanship there. But yeah, Lesmos 2, I'm out of bounds and they get an easy pass from there because my exit was compromised. On the way to Ascari chicane, Bondiek was alongside but ends up deciding against making a move there, so they back out. So I maintain that position, and then Zelonin in front just skids over the first curb, hits it too hard, and then loses control through the chicane. Yeah, is fighting for dear life there. Just skidding across the gravel, back on track. You get the sudden grip. Back off track, you lose traction and grip, and then back on, and yeah, not good for them. They crash out pretty heavily, get passed by a whole bunch of people, including me, Bondiek, and Schmoll, also Marty, who was still somewhat in the neighborhood. But this then puts me P8 again, so we're now 4 laps into the race, and we're completed, or just about to complete, to be fully correct. And I'm back to P8 where I started. But I'm being hunted down by Bondiek, who's still looking to make a move. So coming out of Parabolica, same situation as with Zelonin. I tried to pull the same defense, and now Bondiek is much more decisive, maybe a bit too much so. So they run quite deep into the first corner, and I braked up probably a bit too early. So here we can see the juke to the left after pinching them, but I should have aimed to come out on the outside in the first corner, and that way I could have probably stayed alongside, making them having to take a much tighter line through that first corner, possibly allowing me to stick alongside in the second corner as well, and maybe have a better shot at the upcoming chicane now to my counter move. Now they don't get it fully done, so on the way to the second chicane they choose to defend the inside line, and I pull alongside, but then during the race I was really not happy with this move. I felt they body slammed me basically to try and defend. Ends up so that I stay with the wheels pointing in the right direction, so I'm kind of forced to cut the chicane. I could have tucked in behind, but I felt that defense wasn't on, and yeah, I ended up taking the position. Now on the previous angle, to me actually, so this is where Bondiek starts braking, but previous angle actually it looked to me like it was more my fault on my review. This is the point where I start braking. Notice how much space there is on the outside line. So I dive into it. I do move very slightly to the inside, but I think it's mostly Bondiek that has closed the, yeah, here we see again where Bondiek starts braking. So if we then compare with the point of contact, I think it's pretty clear that Bondiek really closed that gap. Now, from my point of braking to the contact, I don't think I really made any big move to the left. So I think the contact is more on Bondiek. But all in all, I would say maybe 70-30%. But yeah, just my judgment. I was curious because it looked so different to me from different angles. Anyway, no major harm is done. I did regain the position in P8, and coming out of Lesmos 1 and 2, I'm still in front, but Bondiek is only 0.4 seconds behind, and Schmoll as well has really joined this battle, now half a second behind me too. So into Ascari chicane we go. I don't really hit the middle curve all that well, do better on exit, and the gap very briefly opens up very slightly, but since Bondiek is so close, they'll have a very good suction there, and they'll pull alongside before we're into Parabolica. That is again weak corner for me. I should have covered off because they backed off a little bit on the initial braking phase, and if I move to the inside here, I think I might have a shot at retaining the position. But as it stands, I was already wide, and that then doesn't allow me to get on the throttle aggressively at all. So yeah, coming out of Parabolica, I'm now behind Bondiek. I have Schmoll alongside, though I do drop away, or they drop away from me a bit. And actually getting drafted along, I managed to pull somewhat alongside with Bondiek. So they chose to defend the inside line there, not my preference, but they do what they do. So we make our way through side by side through the chicane. The second corner with me on the inside line, it's a bit tighter exits for me, so they have better exit speed. They also very slightly bumped me, but really very insignificant contact there. So on our way we are to the second chicane. Now Schmoll is pulling back alongside with me. I'm still looking to make a move on the inside. And this time it's Bondiek, maybe braking a bit too early, so when they want to turn in, I am in the way. And then Schmoll follows me through as well. It gets pretty dicey in the braking section because I knew Schmoll was on my back left and I was looking to make a slight move left myself. But yeah, here again we see the dancing through the first chicane, so alongside there, small contact there. I think this maybe pushes me wide a little bit of tires, speed scrubbed for me. So I fall slightly behind, but close enough to definitely to go for a move. First looks like they go for the inside line defense, but then they switch it up to the outside before we get to the braking zone, so fair enough, I take the inside line. Schmoll also goes for the inside line, and now Bondiek and Schmoll are alongside. One more view from behind here, so yeah, I'm well ahead of Schmoll by the time we get to the corner, and Bondiek should have gone more for the outside line. A bit of a similar situation as one lap ago when Bondiek first made a move on me. I think if they more commit to the outside line, they can stay alongside with me through the chicane, but yeah, as it stands now, I pull ahead and they have to defend against Schmoll. On the timing sheet, we can see that Schmoll and Bondiek are kind of trading places for a moment, but Schmoll does end up ahead and gaps Bondiek briefly for about a second, but we'll see how that plays out further. In any case, for a moment I am well clear of both of them, so I had a gap of about a second behind myself. In the meantime, in front, maybe good to evaluate what's happening there. Vivas pulled away from me very decisively. I'm now 7 seconds behind, and overtook Huber in the meantime too, or Huber. So if I'm chasing down anyone myself, it's Huber, but it looks like they might be a bit faster than me too, still being 3 seconds ahead. So if anything, I haven't really made inroads on them. And also now I'm just 3/10 slower in the previous lap, so probably not where my mind should be, given that Schmoll is now only half a second behind. I was kind of wondering if they'd go for a move, end up not being the case, they were just too far back. But this did have me distracted and I dipped my wheels in the gravel on exit of turn 2. So I'm really not far away from them. Actually they are pulling closer as we head towards the second chicane through Curva Grande, and they're only 1/10 behind. They're looking to make a move on the inside, I see it coming, so yeah, I come into the outside line and I managed to stay ahead. Heading to Lesmo Studio, they are posturing on my inside lines, similar to what I did with Marti in the first lap, but they commit to it and they actually bump me, so get even a bit of damage from that contact. Seemed very gratuitous to me during the race, but I mean, it is what it is, and Schmoll ends up taking the position there. I don't have an issue with how that went, just a bit of door banging, unlucky to come away there with damage, but yeah. It is what it is. So here we see it again in the replay. So managed to defend through the second chicane at first, but then here they are very much alongside into Lesmos too. I do keep them very tight on the inside line, but I think there was a car's width there, so I think it was all fair play there. And as said, a bit of door banging, but nothing major. So I'm now behind as we head to Ascari chicane, and once again I'm under pressure from Bondiek. who's 0.2 seconds behind. So really need to make sure I get a clean Ascari chicane to defend my position, but I do the opposite. On the exit I hit the curb a bit too hard, end up skidding, going off track. This allows not only Bondiek to pass me by, but then even Brailovsky joins in on the fun and passes me before we even get to Parabolica. So yeah, let's watch the replay once more. Okay, cutting onto the first curb, second one also, but maybe I'm a bit too heavy on the throttle, or it's just bad steering input, so hit that final curb too hard and this sends me flying and lost control for just a moment. So 2 places lost. I'm now P11, given that Schmoll had already previously taken my P8. And yeah, just trying to stick with this battle and hopefully regain position, possibly 2. Behind there's Leipold in P12, and actually they're doing a 149.9, so better than anything I've done this race with my PB being a 150.7. So might be I'll need to even defend P11 here, but we'll have to see how it plays out. So first chicane, I do quite alright. I improved by 0.3 on my personal best. Brailovsky is about 1 second in front. Leipold is closing in a bit behind, 1.8 seconds behind now, or let's just call it 2 seconds. On our way to the second chicane. And I come in too hot, so this compromises my second turn, have to take it quite tight. Brailovsky luckily dips the wheels on the outside into the gravel, so it doesn't really pull away from me, but Leipold presumably came a bit closer through all of that. Lesmos 1 could have used a bit more space on the exit. Lesmos 2, even worse, left a lot there on the table on exits, but good thing for me is that Leipold doesn't seem to be doing that well in these in this lap on Lesmos 1 and 2. So I pull quite a big gap actually suddenly, about 2.5 seconds. And then Ascari chicane, we see Brailovsky in front getting quite out of shape. They really messed up the first phase of it. Seems Bondiek did even worse though. So they went off, and in the replay we can see that they made the same mistake as me. So we'll briefly lose sight of them behind the tree, but then in the third curb they just skid over it, same as me the lap before. So easy pass for Brailovsky. For me too, I'm pulling up pretty quickly there. And yeah, here we go, just passing them with a decent amount of speed. Now we're already pretty close to Parabolica, so by the time we get there, I'm still only about a half a second in front. And I'll say it once more, but not my strongest turn. So actually I'm maintaining the gap, it seems, as we come out of it. So for once I didn't do too bad there. I've been looking on how to improve that corner, and I just find it really hard how to even approach the issue. I've tried different things, but yeah. Into the first chicane we go, peeking behind in my mirror, too much so I mess up. I do maintain position because they are hampered. I can kind of park it on the apex, and they don't get a pass immediately. But they are very big in my mirrors now. Probably thinking about a move into the second chicane. So I don't think too defensively here, which I probably should have. I was just sticking to the outside line. I think I held the outside line well there, but they did make contact with my rear left, and they end up spinning out. So a bit of a lucky getaway from me. I don't think I made a mistake there. I think they just pushed a little too hard on the inside line, and they were running slightly wide from it. So I think that's what pushed them into my backside and ends up spinning them out. So yeah, I feel a bit bad for them, but I don't really have any feelings of guilt at least. So position maintained for me, still P10 now. After I got P10 by them skidding out on a Ascari chicane previous lap. Unfortunately, coming out of Lesmos 2, another mistake by me. I missed the apex, then run wide on exit, and from there Leipold has a very easy pass. So we are chasing them now on our way to Ascari chicane, but they are a bit faster than, so even increasing the gap a little bit. Luckily I can focus on the car in front, because now the car behind is Marti, who is really doing well this race, staying strong in P12 so far. So being seeded number 26. That's a really strong result, so props to them. I'm focused on Leipold though. We're alongside as we head to Parabolica. They have the inside line, which I think is definitely preferred because you want to hit the throttle as hard as you can. It's a very long corner and you want space to drift into as you progressively get more and more on throttle. So yeah, with them coming a little close in the initial or the end of the braking phase, I already run a little wide to avoid contact, and that doesn't leave me any room to really work on my exit, so they pull ahead again, just about half a second in front now, and we can see that there's still a minute on the timer, so really not a lot of time left to make a move. The leader is already on the final lap, which of course means that we're also on the final lap, so I'll have to make a move and make it fast if I want the position back. Coming into the first chicane, I wasn't close enough to really go for any move there, just try to close up the gap a little bit, and I think I do, but really not by that much, so now 0.4 seconds behind as we head to the second chicane. I don't think it'll be enough to make a move, but they already briefly take a defensive posture a bit on the inside, but then move back to the racing line as they see that I'm not going for anything there. They have a better exit, so the gap increases, at least momentarily. Now in Lesmos 1, I think I stick closer to the inside, so maybe I closed it up a little bit. It doesn't really look like it. Then coming out of Lesmos 2 though, I got the curb on the inside quite a bit better. On exit, it's a bit the same. So all in all, gap is maybe shrunk a tiny bit, although it won't show on the timing sheet, so they're now about a second in front, and I'll have to do all the work either in the Ascari chicane or in Parabolica, which doesn't seem likely. On Ascari chicane though, I do a lot better, so I close the gap again and half it just about, so 4/10 behind. Maybe there is something to be done here in Parabolica, but they kind of stick it middle of the road, which makes it really hard for me to come into either side. And I can't do much under braking, and then through Parabolica I'm still kind of stuck behind and can't make a move. So end up finishing the race in P11, and I have to say I had a lot of fun actually this race. I was worried about safety ratings for other drivers and so on, but I feel like people kept it really pretty fair. But the thing is that with the way that the safety rating system works in LFM, it just still dumpstered my safety rating based on this race. So here we see an overview of points in the race where I lost safety rating. So the 1 axis are track limits and the 4 axes are contact either with a wall or with a car. And I believe you can hit 11 points before it turns into a negative result for your safety rating. But so here I'm on 23 points, so way over that 11 limit, and my safety rating is really bad. But so that was a -1 for track limits, -4 for contact, which I really couldn't help. Track limits neither. Okay, this contact -4, and I guess I had some part in that, but then the track limits because of it, and just kind of sad. Very minimal contact there, -4. Okay, track limits my fault, definitely -1. Contact, I was a bit out of control, but the car behind could have been safer there. Contact, definitely not my fault, and in total -23, and the result, the purple graph, so -0.45 on the safety rating, which is massive because that was about a quarter of my safety rating points. So lost a lot. So maybe I'll take it a bit easy on LFM this week. I'm not sure what I'll do. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.